out of nowhere, not even been linked to him, Liverpool suddenly signing Stuttgart's captain, 30-year-old Japanese international. There's been no links at all. Fascinating transfer. And I want to speak to you because last year you wrote an article and it was Japan's best have found a home in the Bundesliga. And I wanted to speak to you about one of them, obviously. It is Wataru Endo. So 133 appearances he's made for Stuttgart. Has he been impressive pretty much since he arrived in the Bundesliga?
Yeah, of course. I mean, he joined Stuttgart when they were going up, or when they were trying to get back their footing in the Bundesliga, because they have been one of these elevator clubs, right? We've gone down and then back up again, and they needed to kind of rebuilt their team, and Endo came from Belgium, St. Truiden. He was somewhat known because he also played for Urawa Diamonds before that, Red Diamonds, and also he was known from his appearances for the Japan international national team. He wasn't really known as a club player, to be honest. But of course, I mean, Japan usually plays or plays at the World Cup usually, right? And so the name and the player was well known, but not so much like on a top level in Europe. So he joined Stuttgart, and I think it was a success story because they needed someone like an anchor midfielder, I like to say, or holding midfielder, but really an anchor midfielder, someone who you can build your midfield around. And he was that type of player, a very intense playing style. So and Stuttgart needed that because they as a lot of Bundesliga clubs, especially on the lower half of the table, usually like to play transition football, meaning winning the ball and then going downhill or down the field very fast. And yeah, he was perfect for that because he can intercept the ball and win the ball back frequently. So yeah, and also he turned out to be also a leader, which who knows, when you sign someone like Wataru Endo coming from Belgium. I mean, he was or had been a leader at the Japan national team, but you never know if he can also have that leadership role within a Bundesliga side or in a Bundesliga locker room. But he did, and that's why he's now very much beloved by a lot of Stuttgart fans and also a lot of teammates because they managed to stay up. And he played a big part in keeping that actually in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned his style of play there and sort of what he's done since he arrived at Stuttgart. He's got 15 goals and 12 assists in that time. Do you think, you mentioned sort of his anchor and his holding role and his tackling. He's obviously very proficient in that. That's where his strengths are. But has he got more to his game than that? Because I mentioned his goals there. You mentioned he scored a big goal to help Stuttgart stay up, of course, as well, one season. So he's got an eye for a pass. He's got quality in the final third as well, it looks like.
Yeah, but I mean, when you look at his pass completion rate, it's like around 80%. So he's not really a playmaker or anything like that. I think he kind of thrived in that environment of a team that tries to play very fast once they have the ball. So he can, push the ball forward, but he's not really a playmaker type of guy. So in a side that plays possession-heavy football, I don't think you will be like the deep-lying midfielder or something like that. That creates plays from right in front of the back line. It's usually not his style of play. Interestingly enough, in the last season, he more than before played as in a higher position midfield because they had Rafa Casio, who was then the holding midfielder for Stuttgart, and Endo played a little bit higher up, but still was kind of that defensive central midfielder type of player who's still like all about winning the ball and then trying to initiate transition attacks. So it will be interesting to see how he will be used at Liverpool. But I think he's more like the type of player who tries to clean house behind the more creative midfielders like Szoboszlai and McAllister.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's how he's going to be used as well, to be honest, I would imagine. We definitely need someone like that, having lost Fabinho and Jordan Henderson, of course. You mentioned a moment ago, Constantine, that he became very popular with fans and teammates. I've seen some managers of his really praising him as well. So what is it about him that makes him a cult hero? Is it the way he plays? Is it the commitment that he has? Is it the fact that he gives 110% by looks of it every time he steps onto the pitch?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because he never stops. He has like a high level of stamina, which is also often admired by teammates and also by fans. He has that energetic playing style, especially when you see a side like Stuttgart. They they play against or they try to avoid relegation. So as a fighter is of course usually admired and beloved. And also because he was that leadership type. In a team that was very young. They had a crew of young midfielders, of just an overall crew of young players, basically. There were a few experienced ones, and Endo was one of them. I mean, he's now 30, so in the past few years, he was one of the older players at Stuttgart. And so, yeah, he also fulfilled that leadership role, and that's why a lot of people speak very highly of him. And also because I think he's like the dream player of every coach, because he's like fighting and playing intensely, and that's what usually coaches want from their players, right? They don't want to have anyone who's like, all right, today I don't really want to play at 100%. I just give it my 80. It's usually what drives coaches crazy. I mean, and Jurgen Klopp is one of them. If one of his players only gives 80 or 70%, he's like he goes out of his mind probably. So yeah, coaches like these type of players, obviously. But I mean, he has the talent and he has the skills and he has the stamina to go 110% over 90 minutes. Other players just don't have that, right? They don't have the ingredients to do that. So it's also about like work ethic and just being athletically gifted in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it sounds like he's going to be right up Jurgen Klopp street then, if he's willing to put his every single bit of energy into every single game. That sounds very much Jurgen Klopp's type of player. You mentioned there, obviously, he was named captain. It was Pellegrino Matarazzo, I believe, the manager of Hoffenheim now, named him captain. Was that a popular decision at the time? Is that a decision that everyone thought, okay, that makes perfect sense? Because, like you say, he hadn't been at the club for that long, but to name him captain, was that just an obvious choice?
More or less it was. I mean, there were a few other experienced German players who could have also been captain, but also Endo committed to the club, which is something I think that a lot of people at Stuttgart thanked him for. So it was a controversial decision to make Endo the captain, because he had proven at the Japan national team that he can be a leader. Then he also proved it at Stuttgart for a little while, and then making him the captain. Yeah, there wasn't no doubt about it. That should be the right decision, or will be the right decision. So Matarazzo, I don't think he didn't need to think long before he made him the captain.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wanted to ask you as well. It's fascinating to me that he wears a gum shield when he plays a lot of the time. Is that just because he gets stuck in? He has the thing in his mouth. Is that because he gets stuck in? You mentioned the word fighter a moment ago. Is that sort of because he's in danger of getting hurt half the time? He's that committed?
No, and also he battles a lot of his duels are in the air. So he has, if you look at his win percentage in aerial duels, he's among the best midfielders in Europe. And also, I mean, to be honest, like it's actually a smart move, because it's not really about protecting your teeth, by the way. It's more about protection against concussions.
Okay. Yeah, you're drawing.
I think a lot of people don't know, actually. If you wear one, it can help protecting you against concussions, because then your teeth don't smash into each other, because that can actually increase the likelihood of getting concussed. So
yeah.
I mean, yeah, and also probably he doesn't want to have dental work being done all the time.
No, he's smart. He's a good footballer as well as being smart. Yeah, we'll take that. We like that. Just a little bit on sort of his characteristics and more his personality, I guess, because he appears as though he's hungry to succeed. This move is being sort of billed. I think Stuttgart released a statement recently. The manager said it was sort of a dream for him to go and play in England. I imagine he never expected to be moving to Liverpool this summer. So do you think he is very hungry to succeed? He is 30 now, but do you think this move to the Premier League is a golden opportunity for him?
Yeah, like most Japanese players, they dream of getting to the Premier League. I mean, if you remember, like Shinji Kagawa, for instance, from Borussia Dortmund, right? When he got the opportunity to join Manchester United, he jumped right onto it. Just because the Premier League is broadcasted widely, extensively in Japan, so a lot of people and a lot of young footballers grew up watching the Premier League. So there's somewhat of a connection. It might be, like when you come from Argentina, maybe you want to play in the La Liga, right? And when you come from Japan, you want to play in the Premier League. I don't think he actually expected to get an offer from Liverpool, to be honest. I mean, because he played at Stuttgart, and Stuttgart were battling relegation the past few years. So he's not the most likely candidate to join Liverpool, currently at least, right? So maybe he was eyeing for a move to a Premier League side down the road, but more like, I don't know, Brighton or something. Maybe not Liverpool. But of course, I mean, he also knows that he's not the first choice. I mean, we don't have to dispute that. I mean, there were 2 other players who were the first and second choice, basically. So he's only the third choice, but I don't think he doesn't mind. In a sense, someone like Endo, he strikes me as someone who's also realistic about like his potential and his skills and what he can do and where he's at, basically in the pecking order. So I think he's just happy about getting the opportunity and playing for Liverpool a few years. And then whatever, maybe retiring in Japan, something like that. He has 5 kids. So moving them over from Stuttgart to Liverpool will also be kind of a hassle, I guess.
Wow.
So,
yeah, 5.
But yeah, but at 30, I mean, it's just the past few weeks we have discussed Harry Kane, or a lot of people have discussed Harry Kane so much, right? Harry Kane is also 30. It's like at that age, you think about, all right, maybe that's the last big contract. And maybe not for Harry Kane, but like this might be the last opportunity to really jump to another club, make a big move. For a lot of players, it is like that, right? Once they turn 30, right? So signing a multi-year contract with Liverpool might be his last big contract before he, as many Japanese players, by the way, return to Japan and retire there, because they are always, and Endo is the same. They're always very closely connected to their home, to the family at home, you know, to their parents and so on. And it's the same with him. But before he can do it, before he can retire in Japan, he can play for Liverpool a few years. And he also knows that maybe next year or the summer in 2025, Liverpool will, of course, sign someone else for the holding midfielder position. I mean, he's realistic, and everyone is realistic. And I think that's what I also got from Stuttgart, basically, was like, yeah, they will allow him to go there. He hasn't signed an extension, so it is also he's in his last contract year. So now they get money for him. It's also a bit of a shock for Stuttgart still, because like they lose their best player. But they just allow him to go, and and he also knows what's to be expected from his time at Liverpool. Probably maybe the first year he will be a starter, and maybe the second year he will move onto more of a bench player role.